Welcome to Fridays with Tab and Chance. I am Tabitha Brown, and this is my husband.
And Chance, what's up?
Bring the beat in. Fridays, Fridays with Tab and Chance. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Fridays with Tab and Chance.
So, listen, hold on.
I ain't even in my robot mood today.
Hold on. That's why. So we had a topic that we was gonna talk about, but I can just tell by the intro and the beat and your vibe and your you didn't hit your robot, none of that. We're gonna switch it around and we're gonna go ahead and go into the topic that we was gonna do second. We're gonna talk about Tab is in a little bit of a rut today, folks. We're gonna talk about accountability. Accountability, because I feel like you need to talk about this. So, because your energy, you need to get this out. You need to go ahead and get this out. So, I'm gonna toss you the lob.
I was ready for the other conversation, but if you want to talk about it, apparently we the only ones that want to talk about accountability. Nobody else want to be accountable. Don't nobody want to talk about accountability. If you wrong, you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be held accountable for our actions. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is this. My daddy raised me to admit when you're wrong, right? There's different ways to admit that you're wrong. Sometimes we admit out of guilt. Sometimes we admit out of hurt. Sometimes we admit out of shame. As long as we admit when we're wrong and hold ourselves accountable first, right? That's how it should be. When other people hold you accountable for your wrong and you get defensive, that's because you haven't held yourself accountable.
You don't get to grab the victim hat and put it in.
I got it.
Okay, all right.
It's because you still think don't nobody see what you did. You out here telling yourself a whole entire lie because you have failed to hold yourself accountable. Now, everybody else has seen what you've done, and collectively, if they come to you with love, as I often, 99.9% of the time try to do, today you caught me on the 0.5, okay? This is still rooted in love and grace. But if I got to tell you straight up to your face, like, wake up, what you have done is wrong, and you still want to fight against that, your problem is not with me. Your problem is not with your family. Your problem is not with the people who are telling you the truth. Your problem is with you. Now, you can be mad all you want, but the real person that you mad at is yourself because you are not holding yourself accountable, and you mad at everybody else for doing so. Accountability.
In action, what does it look like?
What does what look like?
Holding yourself accountable.
It looks like, recognizing the situation, right? So this is it. You decide that you're gonna make a decision to do something, right? I'm gonna make a decision to go and rob a bank. I'm gonna make the decision. I'm gonna plan it out, and I have made this concrete decision. I'm gonna rob this bank and get this money. You try to rob the bank, and you get caught. You now are mad because you got caught. But you're not mad at yourself for even doing the action. You haven't held yourself accountable. You're only mad because you got caught.
So let me ask you this. Does it matter that I robbed the bank because I needed the money? And I'm asking because I know I want you to be able to receive it better, I think, coming from you. Because I thought I didn't have a choice and I needed the money. Let's say my dad wasn't in my life or my mom's health was poor or regardless of the circumstances, I needed that money. Does it matter when I get caught in accountability?
Absolutely not. Right? So, and I'm gonna tell you why. Many people can be a victim of circumstance. Right? It doesn't give you the authority to do bad things and then also not hold yourself accountable. Now, your thought is your thought. You're not wrong for your thoughts. But if your thoughts turn into action, now that's where you're wrong. Because we can all have bad thoughts. But what do I do with the thought? Do I dismiss the thought like, no, I'm tripping? But the moment that I decide to play on it, I gotta be held accountable for that. I made a decision. This is what I'm gonna see it through. I'm the only person who made that decision. I gotta be held accountable for that. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. I get why people do things. We all do certain things for family because we love people, because times are hard. Financially, we're struggling. I get it. It's still an accountability that has to be taken, right? Now, there are some things that are completely out of our control. And when that happens, when things are completely out of your control and they happen to you, and somebody else is accountable for that, that's not on you. A lot of times we carry guilt that doesn't belong to us, right? Sometimes we even hold ourselves accountable for something that somebody else did. Parents, right? There are mothers who are holding guilt for their children who are incarcerated or their children who have went to prison. There are fathers and grandparents and aunts and uncles who are holding themselves hostage and making themselves feel accountable for a mistake that somebody else made. But because that person is not holding themselves accountable. Now, when people go to, my nephew is in prison, right? So I have a sister who has carried guilt thinking if she had did X, Y, and Z differently, maybe things could have been differently. And maybe they could have. But he, as an adult, even though he was a very young adult, made a decision. And he has to hold himself accountable for that, which he has. He understands, like, I made that decision. He ain't blaming nobody else for it, right? But there's other people who will go to prison and spend many years there and still never hold themselves accountable, and they're looking for everybody else to blame. They'll never, ever accept their wrongdoing, whether it's ego, whether it is mental illness, whether it is the parent who's constantly feeding them the foolishness out of their own guilt that you didn't do anything wrong, you're innocent.
Or you didn't have a choice.
Or you didn't have a choice. When
because of our
absolutely we did.
circumstances. That's why I was.
Absolutely.
When I believe differently. That's why I asked you that. Because you hear a whole lot of different things of where you're saying, well, you don't know the circumstances. You don't know the story before. That's where empathy comes in from an outside party. But when you're using your story to feel sorry for yourself and to excuse yourself instead of, or to, what do you call it? What is it when they, you're using your own story to excuse yourself from holding yourself accountable where you could have made a different decision, or even after the fact saying, after serving your time, right? After serving your time or facing your punishment in however, whatever form or fashion that is, right? This could be even from a kid, doing something or failing to do something and getting a punishment for it. If you don't hold yourself accountable to why you lost out on an activity, on life, or why you're in the predicament in your current state. You don't look back at it and say, I gotta hold myself accountable. I did this is why I'm here. This is why these people view me this way. This is why I need to move on, right? You don't understand the definition of accountability.
Right.
It's not just a one-sided thing. It's a number of things. Accountability can be in the front of the activity, in the back of it. It can be in so many different forms or fashion to where it is necessary for you to take account for your role. And unfortunately, I don't think we're living in a day where people are doing that enough. They're not holding themselves accountable. They're not saying to themselves, what role did I play in it? What could I have done better?
Right. Accountability is your road to freedom. Because the longer you are not taking accountability, that means you're holding on to anger. You're holding on to a lie that you've sold yourself. You have all of this frustration because you're not free. You haven't held yourself accountable. And so now you still can't move in a way that you really need to move. Because now people also don't trust you. Or people also know that that person doesn't hold themselves accountable. And so you're really keeping yourself contained in a box, and you're not able to break free. It's just like a lie, right? The moment that you finally say, I'm gonna just tell the truth so I can take this load off, that's freedom. If you hold yourself accountable, it allows you to, admit when you're wrong. Also, holding yourself accountable is also admitting when you need to be right. Right? Admitting, like, I need to hold myself accountable because I need to do X, Y, and Z. I need to do this for myself. Right? Like with losing weight. You know you need to lose weight. I had to lose weight, right? I made a video about this other week. My doctor told me, Tab, you could lose a little bit of weight. And I got defensive. I was like, oh, you want to fight me? But when I got on the scale, I said, she ain't lying. And Tab had messed around and gained about 17 pounds and all. And I said, that might be why the sciatica cutting up. You might be on to something.
I like the 17.
I know you like. I know you like
like
it.
The 17 pounds.
I know you do, but I was wondering why I couldn't fit in certain clothes.
I don't like them clothes, and I don't like skinny girls. But go stay together. I mean, stay on top of it. My bad.
Bad.
My bad. I'm just saying.
Anywho, I had to hold myself accountable and be like, wait a minute. I had to think back. I said, okay, during COVID, me, just like most of us, we was in the house and we was eating. We weren't doing the normal routines that we usually do. And I travel a lot and I be eating. My workout regimen wasn't what it usually is. Like every day I used to work out, right? I've been in pain, so I hadn't been able, to do all the different things that I had been doing. I was like, dang, I gotta hold myself accountable.
You coming off the road, though, that thing be looking good.
Stay focused. Now see who cutting up today?
Go ahead. Hold yourself accountable then. Lose the weight.
I have. I've been working out. I've been losing. But what I'm saying is I had to hold myself accountable. So now I'm like, I had to also say, well, Tab, sometimes you be eating even after you full because it's good. You overeating. You full, but you're like, oh, it's so good, I want one more bite. And then that one bite turned into 2 bites, and that 2 bites turned into 3. I was just giving myself like too much leeway. I wasn't holding myself accountable. So now it's like, oh, I got goals now. Tab, you got goals. You can't eat that. You can't drink that, right? We are to be considerate of what you're doing for yourself means to love yourself, right? To hold yourself accountable means to love you. I love myself enough to hold myself accountable. Nobody else. Chance can't do it for me. Even though he had, over the years, he's tried in certain ways to be like, hey, babe, you want me to help you We could work out together and I get an attitude with him. That ain't, you don't understand. You done been skinny your whole life. You don't understand what I'm going through. You can't tell me.
Get right nasty.
Right? You can't, right.
This get nasty.
Because in those stages, I won't even hold myself accountable, so I don't even want to hear what you got to say. Accountability. Even with your children, like we have grown children, right? And when you have grown children and they, early 20s and stuff, if you want to see people not want to hold themselves accountable for stuff, look at them kids. Mm-hmm. Kids will teach you.
And right there is why it's such a sensitive subject for me. I deal with the youth. I deal with kids, and I'm big on. I had 3 things that actually I got from JR, right, a while back that I started to use in my day-to-day teachings with the kids that you can control. And as long as you control these things, you good with me. Your effort, your attitude, and your discipline. But here recently, I've noticed that even with those 3 things, if you don't hold yourself accountable on and off the court, none of that stuff matters. Accountability is so significant to the point where I'm at the point where I'm now, because my program and my goal for my kids is to teach them life lessons through basketball. Basketball being the carrot that, keeps them engaged. But the ultimate goal is life lessons for me, right? So I'm having to hold myself accountable because kids are watching. So when we, here recently, when we have games, things of that nature, I have been taking on a new practice of asking myself, was it them or was it me? Or was it a combination of the two? And allow them to partake in it, right? So what I mean by that is I go into the huddle at the end of the game and I'll tell them, hey, I failed y'all today. Y'all played outstanding basketball, but I should have did this in a set. If it's really about life and not about the win in that game, I think the message is, the message that sends that, hey man, I'm human. Mm-hmm. Just like you're gonna miss a layup, miss a jump shot, you're gonna fall short sometimes. The coaching aspect of it, I can fall short, and I did today. And I'm gonna hold myself accountable. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna study just like I asked you guys to study. The lessons are never completed. You gotta continue in your journey and holding yourself accountable.
And you're teaching them that if coach can hold himself accountable,
then why shouldn't I?
As a kid, and
right.
As I grow up, and as you have these young boys who grow up to be young men, mm-hmm. They'll know like the importance of holding themselves accountable.
Oh yes, it's very necessary in every aspect: effort, attitude, discipline. But if you're not holding yourself accountable in association with those things, none of it matters. Yeah. You can be the greatest human being, greatest ball player for a moment.
Yeah.
But then if you, for the majority of the time, right? If you're just holding yourself accountable in one aspect of your life or for just a temporary time, and you don't hold yourself accountable the majority of the time, all of that doesn't matter. Right. It won't matter.
And I can say this, it does take practice. It takes courage to hold yourself accountable, right? It takes courage because a lot of times we are afraid of ourselves. We're afraid of the truth that we may have to face, that we brought on ourselves. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you strong because you got to pull from a different strength to hold yourself accountable, right? So don't fear it. Also, don't think less of yourself because you can't. You may be in your working up season and you know it about yourself. The first step is recognizing that, wait, man, I have an issue with doing this. Mm-hmm. Let me tell myself the truth. If you can look around and realize that your friends or your family has been trying to tell you things and it's consistent, guess what? Then they're not all collectively wrong. If everybody is saying the same thing, but you're the only one who's saying, you know, that you're the victim. But everybody's like, no, it didn't happen that way. And everybody knows the truth. You got to really unpack it and ask yourself, am I just not holding myself accountable? Is everybody right? Now, it could be a very small chance, because it can happen, that people can't just be, you know, ganging up on you. But if you really dig deep and find out the truth, most times it's accountability that's the issue. But you deserve that, right? We all deserve to hold ourselves accountable. We deserve that kind of freedom to move. You know, we also deserve the respect that comes with it. Because like right now, you might feel like people are disrespectful towards you or they don't respect you. Well, when you don't respect yourself enough to hold yourself accountable, it's hard for other people to do the same. Right? So, this was personal for Tab today. I have a big pet peeve with accountability. You know, I give grace and I give love, but when it hit real close to home for me, it's just like, man, the grace that I give grace all the time to the world, but I give it to my family and to my friends, you know, the most. And when I see them hurting others and continuing to hurt themselves strictly because no accountability is being held for themselves, it's personal for me. So, forgive my energy, but it is what it is today. I ain't really got nothing else, babe. You got something else?
I do.
Go ahead.
I do.
I might have something later.
Two things. Accountability. To end with that, that does not mean beat yourself up.
Right.
But it also does not mean just because you acknowledge it that you just get to graze over it and move on and expect everybody else to do the same.
Preach.
So when you hold yourself accountable, understand that holding yourself accountable does not determine the time frame in which somebody else can feel how they feel or be affected by whatever it was that you did. And I ain't gonna go too much further into that. As it pertains to the bigger picture, I have this thing, and it to me it goes together, that I've been recently working on with my son. And it goes to society. We'll be out in public, and if you've been around me in the basketball world, or you crossed me somewhere just our path, and you've heard me say, just look at Quest and say society. What I'm saying to him, we've had a discussion about, I'm trying to make him understand that in every environment that we're in, he's welcome. He should be able to be himself and feel like he belongs there. However, he has a responsibility to be mindful that there are other people, other cultures, other thinkings, other beliefs, and that we share this space together. So let's be respectful and not be embracive, not fail to hold ourselves accountable, because we don't want to live in a society. We don't want to live in a world where nobody's holding themselves accountable. That, to me, is chaos. You don't want to live in chaos. So you would want people to be like-minded in the simple things, because we do live in a society. You do have an obligation to think of others, or you should want to, because nobody wants to live in chaos. That's why it's important. Accountability and understanding the definition of accountability and the importance of accountability as it pertains to not just you, but to your loved ones, because your kids are watching. How you manage and how you move is not always going to just be, you're not always going to be the only person affected. If you have kids, anybody that you love, you're not holding yourself accountable can affect more people than yourself. So just be mindful of that. What kind of examples that you're setting. And I've seen it, you know, dealing with the youth, dealing with kids and all, I'm blessed enough to be able to sometimes see things that I don't think that the average person sees. But I just wanted to tie that together. I just wanted people to see it
it's
full circle.
Because it's bigger than you.
It's bigger than you.
Right? We trying to, especially with you working with children, you're trying to create a better world in the future, right? It's the same when I work with kids in Tab Time. My idea and my thought is like, if we can get it right with these kids, when they grow up and become adults, they're going to treat the world better. We're going to treat each other better, right? And I will say one other thing when it comes to accountability. And this is another thing that I see it a lot, and it's hurtful, but it's also so disgusting to see. When you do something and you know that you did it, but you don't want to take accountability, don't create a whole lie, a different story to make yourself feel better. Don't do that, right? Because a lot of times, sometimes you'll do something and you know that you were wrong, but you'll create a lie and spread the lie just to make yourself feel better about what you did. When all you really need to do is take accountability. And then no one is hurt. No new lie has been told. Maybe your feelings is hurt because you did something and you feel bad about it. But instead of just admitting that, you went and created a whole nother story to make yourself look better and feel better. When all you had to do was tell the truth and hold yourself accountable. Let us all work on that collectively as a society. We deserve that, we need that, and we're worthy of it. Just a little accountability. That's it.
That's it.
All right. Until the next time, y'all stay accountable out there, all right? And go on about y'all business and have the most amazing day. But even if you can't have a good one, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's here. Very good. I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank y'all for watching. And don't forget to click here for more episodes.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
Very good.